The great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with beings from 47 different species. Some had scales, others had tentacles, and a few looked like walking trees. They had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had crushed rebellions, conquered planets, and made sure every new species learned its place. Today, they expected to teach another lesson. Ambassador Yoon Hana stood at the center of the chamber. She was a small woman with gray hair tied back in a simple knot. Her face showed no emotion as she looked at the alien faces around her. She had served Earth for 30 years. She had smiled through insults. She had bowed when they demanded it. She had played the part of the weak human perfectly. Councillor Draven of the Valorian hegemony rose from his seat. He was tall, with blue skin and 4 arms. His species had ruled the council for 2,000 years. They believed they were the greatest race in the galaxy. They had never been proven wrong. Ambassador Yoon, Draven said, his voice echoing through the chamber. The council has been patient with your species. We welcomed you 40 years ago. We gave you trade routes. We allowed you to exist. And how do you repay us? Your population grows too fast. Your ships travel where they should not. Your people ask questions that are not their business. Hannah said nothing. She simply watched him with calm eyes. The council has decided, Draven continued. Earth will surrender 60% of your solar system's resources to council control. Your military will be reduced to 50 ships for ceremonial purposes only. You will accept council observers on your homeworld. These are not requests. They are commands. A low murmur of approval spread through the chamber. Several delegates made sounds that might have been laughter. And if we refuse? Hannah asked quietly. Draven smiled. It was not a kind smile. Then we will correct you, as we have corrected others. Your species has perhaps 30 combat vessels. We have 30,000. The mathematics are simple, Ambassador. Even humans can understand simple mathematics. More laughter filled the chamber. Hannah let the laughter die down. Then she spoke in the same quiet voice. The council is generous. I must consult with my government before giving an answer. I request 3 days. Draven waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. You may have your 3 days. Use them to prepare your surrender speech. It will make things easier for everyone. Hannah bowed slightly and left the chamber. As she walked through the long corridors of the council station, her calm expression never changed. But inside, her heart was beating fast. Not with fear, with anticipation. On Earth, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, a different meeting was taking place. The war cabinet sat around a metal table in a bunker that officially did not exist. President Kang Taiho sat at the head of the table. He was a large man with a soldier's posture, even though he had not worn a uniform in 20 years. His face was weathered by time and worry. They gave us 3 days, Admiral Park Do-yoon said. He was older than the president, with white hair cut short and eyes that had seen too much death. That is more time than we expected. They are arrogant, General Oh Minho said. He commanded Earth's ground forces, 200 million soldiers spread across the planet. They think we will spend those 3 days crying and begging. President Kang looked at Admiral Park. The question I must ask you, old friend. The question we have been preparing for since we first met these aliens. Are we ready? Admiral Park did not smile. He rarely smiled anymore. Not since the Valorians had destroyed a human colony ship 15 years ago as a warning. His wife and daughter had been on that ship. We've been ready for 20 years, sir, Park said. They monitored our shipyards. They counted 30 ships. They saw exactly what we wanted them to see, and what we did not want them to see. The president asked. 47,000 warships, Park replied. Hidden in asteroid fields, built inside hollowed-out moons. constructed in underground facilities on Mars and Venus. We have weapons they have never imagined. We have soldiers who have trained their entire lives for this moment. General O leaned forward. Every city on Earth has underground shelters. Every citizen over 16 has received combat training. We have turned our entire planet into a fortress. If they want Earth, they will have to dig us out one by one, and we will make them pay for every meter of ground. President Kang was quiet for a long moment. He thought about what war would mean. Death, destruction, pain beyond measure. But he also thought about what surrender would mean. Slavery, the slow death of everything humanity had built. The end of human freedom forever. We did not start this, the president said finally. We came to the stars hoping to find friends. We found masters who saw us as insects. We tried diplomacy. We tried patience. We tried being small and quiet and harmless. And still they come to take everything we have. He stood up from the table. Send word to Ambassador Yoon. She knows what to say. And Admiral Park begin moving our fleet into position. When the council comes for their answer, we will give them one they will never forget. Far above Earth, hidden behind the dark side of the moon, Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the ESS Unbroken. It was the largest ship humanity had ever built, a carrier that held 500 smaller vessels in its belly. Around it, more ships were powering up their engines. Destroyers, cruisers, frigates, battleships, an armada that the galaxy did not know existed. Park looked at the stars. Through the viewport, somewhere out there, the council was already celebrating their easy victory. They were dividing up Earth's resources. They were choosing which humans would make good slaves. They had no idea what was coming. Admiral, his communications officer, said, "All fleet commanders report ready. 47,000 ships awaiting your orders." Park nodded slowly. "Tell them to hold position and maintain silence. In 3 days, the council will learn something important about humanity." "Sir? What is that?" Admiral Park finally allowed himself a small, cold smile. "They will learn that we are not what they think we are. We are not victims waiting to be conquered. We are the species that invented war. And we have been preparing for this moment since the day we realized we were not alone in the universe." The stars seemed to shine brighter, as if they knew that everything was about to change. 3 days passed slowly on the council station. The alien delegates spent their time making plans for Earth's future. The Valorians wanted the planet's oceans. The Thracians wanted its minerals. Smaller species fought over the scraps. They spoke of humans the way farmers speak of cattle. Ambassador Yoon Hana spent those 3 days in her small quarters, eating simple meals and sleeping peacefully. Her staff thought she was preparing her surrender speech. They did not know that she had already memorized every word she would say, and none of those words were about surrender. On the morning of the 3rd day, the council chamber filled once again. This time, even more delegates attended. They wanted to watch humanity kneel. It would be entertaining. Some had even brought food and drinks, as if they were attending a show. Councilor Draven sat in his high seat, looking down at the human ambassador with satisfied eyes. "Ambassador Yoon," he said, "your 3 days are finished. The council waits for Earth's answer. Please, speak." Hana walked to the center of the chamber. She wore the same simple gray suit she always wore. Her hands were clasped behind her back. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and clear. "Honored Counselor, distinguished delegates, I thank you for your patience. I have indeed consulted with my government. I have an answer for you." "We are listening," Draven said, already bored. They expected crying, begging, perhaps some pathetic attempt at negotiation. "Before I give our answer, I would like to tell you a story about my species," Hana said. "I hope the council will allow me this small request." Draven waved his hand lazily. Speak quickly, human. Our time is valuable. Thank you. Hana paused for a moment, gathering her thoughts. 200 years ago, on Earth, there was a great war. Two groups of humans fought each other across the entire planet. Millions died. Cities were burned to ash. One side had more soldiers, more weapons, more resources. They believed victory was certain. A few delegates shifted in their seats. Stories of primitive human wars did not interest them. But the weaker side refused to surrender. Hana continued. They fought in forests and mountains. They fought in ruined cities. When they ran out of bullets, they fought with knives. When they ran out of knives, they fought with stones. When they ran out of stones, they used their hands. The stronger side won eventually, but the cost was terrible. They learned that humans do not surrender easily. We burn our own homes rather than let enemies have them. We destroy our own cities rather than see them conquered. A sad story, Draven said. But irrelevant. You had no choice against each other. Against us, you have no chance at all. Hana smiled. It was a strange smile, one that made some of the older delegates feel suddenly uncomfortable. Counselor, you asked about our 30 ships. You are correct. We have 30 ships in our visible fleet. We also have 30 ships that patrol our trade routes. We have 30 ships that guard our colonies. Yes, Draven said impatiently. Your pitiful navy is well documented. What is not documented, Hana said, her voice growing harder, is what we built in places you never thought to look. Inside asteroids. Beneath the ice of distant moons. In caverns dug deep into lifeless planets. For 40 years, you watched our public shipyards and laughed at our weakness. You never considered that a species forged in endless war might know how to build in secret. The chamber grew quiet. Far away, in the cold darkness beyond Neptune, something was happening. Asteroid fields that had been silent for decades began to move. Rocks that sensors had classified as natural formations split open, revealing metal hulls beneath. Moons that scientists had declared dead suddenly glowed with the light of awakening engines. Captain Shin Yunji stood on the bridge of the S Resolve, the most advanced warship humanity had ever created. She was young for a captain, only 35, with short black hair and steady hands. She had trained for this moment since she was a teenager. Her crew of 400 had done the same. Captain, her tactical officer said. Lieutenant Cho Sung-ho was even younger, barely 28, but his mind worked faster than any computer. All systems online. Weapons charged. Stealth field stable. Navigator status? Kwan Mai-rei sat at the pilot's console, her fingers dancing over the controls. She was known throughout the fleet for maneuvers that seemed impossible. Engines ready, Captain. Point me at something, and I will get us there. Yunji looked at the main screen. Around the Resolve, hundreds of other ships were emerging from hiding. Destroyers and cruisers and frigates, all painted the same dark gray that made them invisible against the void. And those were just the ships she could see. Thousands more were awakening across the solar system. We spent 40 years pretending to be weak, Yunji said quietly. 40 years of insults and threats and watching our people die because we were not allowed to fight back. That ends today. On Mars, deep beneath the red sand, General Oh Min-ho walked through endless corridors filled with soldiers. 200 million men and women, armed with weapons that could destroy tanks and bring down aircraft. They stood at attention as he passed, their faces hard with determination. The aliens think Earth is undefended, Oh said to his officers. They think they will land their troops and we will run away. They do not know about the tunnels. They do not know about the bunkers. They do not know that every city on this planet is a trap waiting to close. On Europa, the frozen moon of Jupiter, Dr. Beat Ji-yong watched as the Prometheus array came online. Thousands of satellites that had pretended to be communication relays for decades suddenly revealed their true nature. Weapons platforms armed with directed energy beams powerful enough to cut warships in half. "Array is operational," Jiang reported to High Command. "All platforms responding. We can cover every approach to Earth." Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Yun Hana was finishing her speech. The delegates were no longer eating or drinking. They were watching her with growing unease. "You gave us 40 years, Hana said. 40 years of believing you could take whatever you wanted from us. 40 years in which you never once wondered if we might be preparing for the day when you finally pushed too far." She looked directly at Councillor Draven. His blue skin had gone slightly pale. "Earth's answer to your demands is this. No, we will not surrender our resources. We will not disband our military. We will not accept your observers. And if you send your fleet to force us, you will discover something the galaxy has forgotten." "And what is that?" Draven asked. His voice was not so confident now. Hannah's smile widened. "You will discover why humans learned to build weapons before we learned to build homes. Why we conquered our own planet before we reached for the stars. Why every species we have ever met in our history has eventually learned to fear us." She turned and began walking toward the exit. "You have made a mistake, Counselor. You have awakened something that should have been left sleeping. In 3 days, your enforcement fleet will arrive at our solar system. When it does, you will finally see what humanity is capable of." The doors closed behind her, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Councillor Draven finally spoke, his voice uncertain for the first time in centuries. "She is bluffing. She must be bluffing." But deep in his heart, he was no longer sure. Fleet Commander Varn had conquered 12 worlds in his long career. He had crushed rebellions, destroyed civilizations, and watched species surrender at the mere sight of his armada. He was the greatest military commander the Valorian hegemony had produced in 500 years. When the council ordered him to correct humanity, he had laughed. 2,000 ships for 30 human vessels, he had told his officers. This is not a war. This is an execution. His fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Neptune, exactly as planned. 2,000 warships, each one massive and bristling with weapons. They formed a perfect attack formation, spreading across space like a net ready to catch fish. Then the sensors began screaming. "Commander!" His sensor officer shouted. "We are detecting ships." "The human fleet," Varn said calmly. 30 vessels, as expected." "Where are they?" "Everywhere, sir." The officer's voice was shaking. "They are everywhere." Varn walked to the main display screen. What he saw there made his blood freeze. Ships were emerging from the darkness all around his fleet. Not 30 ships. Not 300. Thousands of ships, pouring out of asteroid fields and from behind moons and out of the shadows of gas giants. They kept coming, more and more, until the display screen could not show them all. "How many?" Varn whispered. "Still counting, sir." The officer's hands were trembling. 10,000. 20,000. 30,000. He paused, his face pale with terror. Final count, 47,000 combat vessels. Vaughn grabbed the edge of his command chair to steady himself. 47,000. Impossible. Their intelligence had been perfect. They had watched Earth's shipyards for 40 years. They had counted every vessel, tracked every construction project. Where had these ships come from? "Commander," his communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission. It is the human ambassador. Put it on screen." Ambassador Yun Hana appeared before him. She was smiling that strange smile that had made the council delegates so uncomfortable. Behind her, Varn could see the bridge of a massive warship, bigger than anything he had imagined humans could build. "Fleet Commander Vaughn," Hana said. "Welcome to our solar system. I hope your journey was pleasant." "This is impossible," Varn said. "Where did you get these ships?" "We built them," Hana replied simply. "In places you never thought to look. Inside asteroids, beneath frozen moons, underground, underwater. Humans are very good at hiding things, Commander. We have had thousands of years of practice." "Your intelligence said 30 ships," Varn's officer whispered. "Your intelligence saw what we wanted it to see," Hana said. She had heard him through the transmission. "For 40 years, we showed you our public shipyards and our ceremonial fleet. We let you laugh at our weakness. We let you believe we were helpless. And all that time, we were building, preparing, waiting." Varn tried to regain his composure. He was still a commander of the Valorian hegemony. His fleet had superior technology. His crews had centuries of combat experience. Numbers alone could not decide a battle. "You may have surprised us," he said, "but our ships are more advanced. Our weapons are more powerful. Your primitive vessels cannot match Valorian engineering." Hana's smile faded. When she spoke again, her voice was hard as steel. "Commander, let me tell you something about humans. We have been fighting wars since before your species learned to use tools. We have destroyed ourselves with weapons that could burn continents. We have invented new ways to kill each other every single generation. You think your technology is superior? Perhaps. But we have something you do not have: experience, desperation, and absolutely nothing to lose." She leaned forward, her eyes boring into the screen. "You may still withdraw. Turn your fleet around and go home. Tell the Council that Earth is not worth the cost. This is your only offer of mercy. We will not make it again." Varn hesitated. Part of him wanted to run. Part of him knew that this battle would not be the easy victory he had expected. But he was a Valorian. His species did not retreat. His honor demanded that he fight. "Human," he said, "you speak of mercy as if you were in a position of strength. But words do not win wars. Ships do, weapons do. And when this battle is over, your species will learn its place." He ended the transmission and turned to his crew. "All ships advance. Attack formation. We will crush these humans and their hidden fleet." In the space between Neptune and Uranus, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled waited in perfect silence. On the bridge of the ESS Unbroken, Admiral Park Do-yoon watched the enemy armada begin its advance. "They are coming," Captain Shin Yoonji reported from the Resolve. 2,000 ships in standard attack formation. "They are brave," Park said. "Or foolish." "Perhaps both. Orders, Admiral?" Park thought about his wife and daughter, killed 15 years ago by these same aliens. He thought about all the humans who had suffered under Council rule. He thought about the years of hiding, building, preparing for this moment. "Let them come closer," he said. "Let them believe they still have a chance. Then show them what humanity truly is." Across the fleet, 47,000 ships powered up their weapons. Stealth fields dropped, revealing vessels that bristled with guns and missile launchers and weapons the Council had never seen. On the Resolve, Lieutenant Cho Sung-ho ran final calculations on his targeting computer. Navigator Kwan Mai-rae gripped her flight controls, ready to dance through the enemy formation. "Remember why we fight," Admiral Park's voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. "Remember every insult, every threat, every human who died because we were too weak to protect them. Today, we are no longer weak. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity." The Valorian fleet continued its advance, unaware that it was flying into a trap that had been 40 years in the making. Enemy ships entering optimal range. Cho reported. Captain Shin Yoonji looked at her crew. Young men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They were afraid. She could see it in their eyes. But they were also determined. They were human. All hands, she said. Battle stations. This is not a drill. This is not a simulation. This is the moment our species proves itself. Do not let Earth down. Admiral Park raised his hand on the Unbroken's bridge. The moment stretched out, silent and terrible. Then his hand dropped. All ships, he commanded. Open fire. The darkness of space exploded into light. The first Valorian cruiser died before its crew knew they were under attack. A beam of concentrated energy, fired from a stealth ship hidden in an asteroid field, cut through its hull like a knife through paper. The explosion lit up the darkness. And then more explosions followed, one after another, spreading through the enemy fleet like fire through dry grass. Commander Varn screamed orders at his officers. But chaos had already consumed his bridge. Alarms wailed. Damage reports flooded in. Ships that had been intact moments ago were now burning wreckage drifting through space. Where are they coming from? He demanded. Everywhere, Commander. His tactical officer shouted. They are everywhere. The human fleet attacked from all directions at once. Admiral Park had studied every great naval battle in human history. He knew how the British had destroyed the Spanish Armada. He knew how the Americans had won at Midway. He knew how the Koreans had defended their seas against invasion. And he applied every lesson to this battle. Stealth ships struck first, appearing out of nowhere to destroy enemy sensors and communication relays. Without coordination, the Valorian formation began to fall apart. Then the main fleet moved in, overwhelming individual enemy ships with concentrated fire before moving to the next target. On the ESS Resolve, Captain Shin Yoonji led her strike group directly into the heart of the enemy formation. Her ship shook with every impact, every near miss. Around her, crew members shouted reports and damage assessments. She heard them all, processed them all, and kept fighting. Hull breach on deck 7. Someone yelled. Seal it and keep firing. Yoonji commanded. A Valorian destroyer appeared directly ahead, its weapons charging for a killing shot. Before it could fire, Navigator Kwan Mai threw the Resolve into a spin that should have been impossible for a ship that size. The enemy's shot missed by meters. The Resolve's return fire did not miss. Good flying, Yoonji said. Mai grinned despite the chaos. Just getting started, Captain. Lieutenant Cho Sung-ho worked at his tactical console, his mind racing through calculations faster than any computer. He saw patterns in the enemy's movements that others missed. He predicted where ships would be before they got there. And he fed targeting solutions to the fleet that turned guesses into certain kills. Captain, Cho said suddenly, I see something. A gap in their formation. If we can push through, we can reach their command ships. Yoonji looked at the display. The gap was there, but it was narrow and surrounded by enemy fire. Getting through would be suicide for most ships. Mai, she said. Can you do it? The navigator studied the path for exactly 2 seconds. Get me 12 escort ships. I will get us through. Yoonji opened a channel to the nearby frigates. Strike Group 7. Form up on the Resolve. We are going through the center. Captain, that is insane. One of the frigate commanders replied. Yes, it is. Are you coming or not? There was a pause. Then, we are with you, Resolve. Lead the way. 13 ships dove into the gap, weaving through enemy fire with precision that defied belief. Moray's hands moved across her controls, like a musician playing an instrument. She anticipated every shot, every movement, turning her ship at exactly the right moment to avoid destruction. 4 frigates were lost in the charge. Their crews died instantly. their ships becoming brief flowers of fire in the darkness. But 9 ships made it through, emerging behind the enemy's main line where their command vessels waited. Commander Varn's flagship, the Pride of Veloria, was the largest ship in the enemy fleet. It had never been damaged in battle. It had never faced a worthy opponent. Today, that changed. The Resolve and her escorts opened fire on the flagship with everything they had. Missiles and energy beams and kinetic rounds slammed into its shields, overwhelming them through sheer volume. The Pride of Veloria shuddered under the assault. On the flagship's bridge, Commander Varn watched his ship die around him. Fires burned. Officers screamed. The lights flickered and failed. In that moment, he finally understood what humanity truly was. They were not the weak, frightened creatures the Council had believed. They were predators. They had clawed their way to the top of their own world's food chain, and they had never stopped fighting since. Every war, every conflict, every drop of blood they had shed against each other had prepared them for this moment. "Commander!" his first officer shouted. "We must retreat. The fleet is lost." Varn looked at the tactical display. Of his 2,000 ships, less than 500 remained. The human fleet surrounded them, closing in like wolves around wounded prey. There was no victory here. There was only survival. "Signal all ships," Varn said, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. "Full retreat. Jump to hyperspace. Get out of this system." The surviving Valorian ships began to flee, but the humans did not let them go easily. Admiral Park's fleet pursued them relentlessly, destroying ship after ship as they tried to escape. By the time the last enemy vessel disappeared into hyperspace, only 340 had survived. On the Resolve, Captain Shin Yoonji sat back in her command chair. Her ship was badly damaged. 60 of her crew members were dead. She could smell smoke and burning metal. But they had won. "Captain," Cho said quietly, "enemy fleet has withdrawn. The battle is over." Yoonji closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about the people she had lost. Good men and women who had died so that humanity could survive. Their faces would haunt her forever. "Contact the Admiral," she said. "Report our status." Admiral Park's voice came through the speakers, tired but triumphant. "Well done, Captain Shin. Well done, everyone. Today, we showed the galaxy that humanity cannot be conquered. Today, we earned our place among the stars." Across the fleet, exhausted crews began to cheer. Some cried. Some simply sat in silence, unable to believe they had survived. The Battle of Seoul was over. Humanity had won. But Admiral Park knew that this was only the beginning. The Council would not accept this defeat easily. More battles would come. More lives would be lost. The war for humanity's future was just starting. He looked out at the stars, at the debris of destroyed ships floating through space, at the distant light of Earth's sun. They had protected their home today. They had proven themselves. And whatever came next, they would face it together. "All ships," he said, "begin recovery operations. Collect our dead. Repair what can be repaired. And prepare for what comes next." The fleet moved slowly through the battlefield, gathering the bodies of fallen heroes and the wreckage of destroyed ships. The cost of victory had been high, but the alternative had been extinction. Humanity had chosen to fight, and humanity had won. 1 month after the Battle of Seoul, the Galactic Council met again. But this time, the chamber felt different. The air was heavy with fear and uncertainty. Delegates who had laughed at humans now sat in nervous silence. The Valorian seats were half empty, their representatives too ashamed to show their faces. The Thracian Empire had already announced it would no longer support Council military actions. Ambassador Yoon Hana entered the chamber with a calm face. But inside she felt the weight of everything that had happened. Thousands of humans had died in the battle. Ships had been lost. Families had been destroyed. Victory had come at a terrible price, but they had survived. And that was what mattered. She walked to the center of the chamber, just as she had done 1 month ago. This time, no one laughed. No one whispered insults. Every eye in the room watched her with a mixture of fear and respect. Councillor Draven was not in his usual seat. He had been removed from power after the disaster, blamed for underestimating humanity so badly. The new Valorian representative, a female named Consul Thera, looked at Hana with careful, calculating eyes. "Ambassador Yoon," Thera said, "the Council recognizes Earth's representative. You may speak." Hana nodded politely. "Thank you, Consul. I bring a message from Earth's president and from our people. I hope the Council will listen carefully." She paused, looking around at the alien faces. So many species. So many worlds. All of them had believed that humanity was nothing. All of them had been wrong. 1 month ago, you sent a fleet to conquer us. You expected us to surrender. You believed we were weak, primitive, helpless. Instead, your fleet was destroyed. Your greatest military commander fled in shame. And the galaxy learned something important about humanity. Her voice was steady, but her words carried the weight of history. We are not what you thought we were. We are not victims. We are not prey. We are a species that has survived ice ages and plagues and wars that killed millions of our own kind. We have destroyed ourselves and rebuilt ourselves again and again. And through all of that, we have never stopped fighting. We never will. The chamber was absolutely silent. President Kang Taiho has asked me to deliver our terms, Hana continued. These are not requests. These are conditions for peace. She took a breath. First, Earth will be recognized as a first-tier council species, with all the rights and privileges that position carries. Second, all resource exploitation treaties will be cancelled. What belongs to humanity stays with humanity. Third, we will form alliances with whoever we choose, without council interference. Fourth, any species that attacks Earth or its allies will face our full military response. Consul Thera leaned forward. And if we refuse these terms? Hana smiled. It was not a threatening smile, but it carried a clear message. Then we will continue as we are. We will build more ships. We will develop more weapons. We will grow stronger every year, while the Council grows weaker. Eventually, you will accept these terms anyway. The only question is how many more of your ships you want to lose before that happens. The Council voted that same day. The terms were accepted unanimously. On Earth, President Kang Taiho addressed the planet from the steps of the Unified Government building in Geneva. Billions of people watched on screens across the world. Behind him stood Admiral Park Doyan and General Oh Minho, representing the military that had saved humanity. My fellow humans, the president said. 1 month ago, we faced extinction. An alien armada came to conquer us, to take everything we had built over thousands of years. They believed we were helpless. They were wrong. He paused, letting his words sink in. We paid a terrible price for our survival. Thousands of brave men and women gave their lives so that we could stand here today as a free people. We must never forget their sacrifice. We must never forget what they died for. But we must also look forward. The galaxy has changed. Our place in it has changed. We are no longer the small, ignored species on the edge of known space. We are a power. We are a force. And we will use that power to protect ourselves and to help others who cannot protect themselves. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. 12 species that had suffered under Council rule sent diplomats to Earth, asking for protection. Small worlds that had been exploited for centuries saw humanity as their salvation. Admiral Park was asked to lead a new coalition fleet, a force that would defend the weak against the strong. He accepted the responsibility with mixed feelings. He had spent 20 years preparing to defend Earth. Now he had to think about defending the galaxy. Captain Shin Yoonji was promoted to Commodore and given command of the new coalition's rapid response force. Her ship, the Resolve, had been repaired and upgraded. Her crew, reduced by battle, had been reinforced with volunteers from across the fleet. They were ready for whatever came next. One evening, after a long day of meetings and planning, Admiral Park stood alone on the observation deck of the Unbroken. The ship was in orbit around Earth now, part of the permanent defense fleet that would protect humanity's home forever. Through the viewport, he could see the blue and green planet below, beautiful and fragile. Footsteps approached behind him. He turned to see Commodore Shin Yoonji, her face tired but determined. "Admiral," she said, "you asked to see me?" Park nodded. "I wanted to thank you, Yoonji. Your actions at the Battle of Souls saved countless lives. You led from the front when others might have held back. I am proud to serve with you." Yoonji bowed her head slightly. "I only did what any officer would do, sir." "No," Park said. "You did what a hero would do. Do not forget that." They stood together in silence for a moment, watching Earth turn slowly below them. Then Yoonji asked the question that had been bothering her since the battle ended. "Admiral, do you think there will be peace now? Do you think they have learned their lesson?" Park considered the question carefully. He thought about the council, weakened but not destroyed. He thought about the enemies who would want revenge. He thought about all the challenges that still lay ahead. "No," he said finally. "There will not be peace. Not real peace, not for a long time. The council will rebuild. New threats will emerge. We will have to fight again, probably many times." Yoonji sighed. "Then, what was the point? Why did we sacrifice so much if war is just going to continue?" Park turned to look at her, his old eyes carrying the wisdom of a lifetime of warfare. "The point, Commodore, was to show them that we are not victims. The point was to earn the right to exist on our own terms. Before the Battle of Seoul, the galaxy saw us as prey. Now they see us as equals. That is worth any price." He looked back at Earth, at the home they had almost lost. "We cannot prevent all wars. We cannot stop all violence. But we can make them think twice before they start the next war. We can make them understand that attacking humanity has a cost. And that is all we ever wanted. The chance to be left alone, or the strength to make them regret not leaving us alone." Yoonji nodded slowly, understanding filling her eyes. "So we keep building, keep training, keep preparing." "Yes," Park said. "That is what humans do. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. And when the worst comes, we face it together." The stars shone bright through the viewport, endless and mysterious. Out there, somewhere, enemies were plotting, and allies were hoping. The galaxy was vast and dangerous and full of wonders. And humanity, against all odds, had earned its place in it. "Come," Admiral Park said, turning away from the viewport. "We have work to do. The coalition fleet needs organizing. Our allies need training. And our enemies need to be reminded that we are watching." They walked together off the observation deck, leaving behind a peaceful view of Earth. The future was uncertain. Challenges awaited. But humanity had proven itself in fire and blood. They would face whatever came next, as they had always faced their challenges, together, determined, and unafraid. The galaxy had expected humanity to kneel. Instead, humanity had risen, and the stars themselves seemed to tremble.